Welcome to Bathrooms and Bunkers, powered by Lean Solutions Group. The Bathrooms and Bunkers podcast is dedicated to telling stories of excellence from incredible people around the globe. I'm Trey Griggs, Vice President of Lean Sales, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by a two-time winner on the Korn Ferry Tour and my good friend, Jared Wolfe. Jared, it's great to have you on the podcast.
Trey, thanks for having me on, man. But you got to tell me, what's the whole Bunkers and Bathrooms podcast name about?
That's a great story. So I was actually sitting with a client, and we were telling these stories of our jobs and growing up about stories of excellence. He was sharing that every time that he went to a warehouse, they would always clean everything up, but then he would go right straight past all that to the bathroom and see, did they clean the bathroom up? And if they didn't, he would reprimand or just make a point that, hey, no matter what you do in this company, you need to do it with excellence, even if it's just cleaning the bathroom. And it got me thinking about my first job out of high school. I got to work on a grounds crew at a golf course. My very first day, they hand me a bunker rake and they make me walk the entire course behind the bunker rake machine, where the bunker rake machine would go in and do the bottom, and then I had to go around and I had to rake the edges by hand, all 82 bunkers. I counted every one of them, and they basically were saying to me, if you can't do this well, then we can't trust you to mow a tee or a green. And so it was all about being excellence. And so we're sitting at dinner, my client and I, and we're just like, bathrooms and bunkers. We just kept going, bathrooms and bunkers. And then the idea came, well, this is, for a podcast talking about excellence, this would be a really fun name. So that's where it came from.
I couldn't think of a better name for it. That's
great.
great.
We'll see how it goes.
That's two pretty good stories.
They're decent, that's for sure.
pretty good.
All right, so I want to ask you a question. So when people ask you, what do you do for a living? What do you say?
I try to tell them right away I play golf for a living. I travel around and play golf for a living. And, some of the responses I get are pretty funny. I don't lead straight in and tell them, hey, I'm a professional golfer on this tour. I don't go through my whole resume with them, but I kind of enjoy that little bit of pleasure of just kind of giving them the little teaser and then seeing where they go from there.
I can imagine a lot of them ask how they can sign up for that.
Yeah, a lot of them are like, oh, wow, that's great. You ever thought about going pro? You ever thought about getting on the pro tour, and most of the time my answer is like, yeah, I've thought about it. I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to try.
I'm thinking about it.
And that's the little bit of fun that I get to have when I get to tell. And then I get a little more serious. I tell them.
Kind of get to be, as a professional golfer, especially a journeyman on the mini tours, you kind of get to be incognito a little bit and have a lot of fun with that, where, somebody on the PGA Tour today or a basketball player well known doesn't get to have that kind of fun. So
exactly,
that's probably pretty cool.
A lot of them will say, oh yeah, my dad plays golf. It's great. Or my uncle's a golf pro at this golf course. I'm like, oh, that's great. That's awesome. Like, is that what you do? Is that what, and I get it to explain to them a little bit. This is what I get to do. How it's different than being a golf pro. Being a pro golfer is a little different and different things like that.
You get to play a lot more golf, that's for sure.
I get to play a lot more golf, as you know, as your short stint as the assistant pro somewhere.
Yeah. Watched a lot of people play golf.
Watched a lot of people play golf. You don't get to play much at all.
That's right. So you're in your 11th year as a pro, but when did you start? How did that all begin for you? When did golf become a part of your life?
I played when I was a real little kid. I didn't know what I was really doing, but my dad had a Fisher-Price set my mom and dad got me for me when I was 2 years old. So I've got home video of me smacking a little white plastic golf ball around the house and things. But I started taking it pretty serious in middle school. I played for a high school team in town, the high school my mom taught at, actually. And played there when I was in middle school, played for their JV team or their golf team. That may have been the only team at the time, but played through there a little bit, so I got to see what high school golf was about. Get to play against a lot of good players and different things, and kind of took off from there.
Yeah, when did you start taking lessons? Were you self-taught for a long time, or did you eventually start taking lessons in middle school, high school?
I think I was kind of self-taught, just watching my dad, watching my granddad, and everybody else we played with until probably middle school, and then I started taking lessons from Kevin Greenwell. At the time, it was at Shawnee Golf Course in Louisville, part of our Metro Parks courses. That's kind of what I grew up on and played, so kind of shout out to them. But I was with Kevin Greenwell, taught me for years. He taught me all the way, I think, through middle school and high school and I think part of college.
Now, you grew up in Kentucky, and I noticed that Kentuckians in general are very proud of being from Kentucky. What are some of the best kept secrets about Kentucky?
We've got obviously got the horse farm. I'm not a UK fan. I'm a Louisville fan, but I do have to give Lexington credit. They have some really nice horse farms. Everything's there. They obviously have the Derby, different things. But we have the Muhammad Ali Museum. With him being from Louisville, we've got The Louisville Slugger Museum, it's a great thing there for that. We have a speed art museum. We've got a lot of things downtown, a lot of history there, a lot of things with the Ohio River going through there, a lot of trade history, a lot of different things with that. Something that people that appreciate those kind of things, if they came to Louisville, would appreciate that. But on the other hand, we've got a lot of nightlife, a lot of food scene. It's turned into a big food town. But it's a really cool place, and then like I said, just I think the people are great.
And you got some really good golf courses in Kentucky. What's the best golf course that no one's heard of in Kentucky? We all kind of know about Valhalla.
Right.
What's the best one no one's ever heard of?
Yeah, I would say the majority of people have not heard of Old Stone in Bowling Green, Kentucky. That's probably the best, and Persimmon Ridge would probably be second best, and that's just outside of Louisville as well. But Bowling Green, Old Stone, they've had a couple NCAA tournaments there, but a lot of people haven't heard about it. They built it for tournament golf, and unfortunately they haven't had one there, but probably one of the hardest golf courses I've ever played too.
All right, well, those will go on my bucket list, and
yes.
I need to check those out for sure. So you played in Kentucky, then you ended up going to Murray State University in Murray, Kentucky. What led you to go to Murray State?
It was kind of a funny story, and I'm pretty sure in the 4 years I told my coach this story. If not, maybe you'll get to hear it here for the first time. But I didn't know what really good golf was. I think we might get into that later. But I was kind of ignorant to what really good golf was. So the fact that I could shoot in the 70s in high school, I thought, hello Wake Forest, hello Arizona State. Here we go. This is going to be great. So I sent off all my letters to all that. Well, I get a call from Murray State, and I get off the phone. I remember laughing. I was like, I'm not going to Murray State. I'm going to go to one of these big schools. I'm going to go to Duke. I'm going to go somewhere like that. It's going to be great. And as I learned that I was not in that ability to go there, and also I think too, I mean, the paths were set for me to go there, and I loved pretty much every minute of it. We had a blast. Coach was great. We still keep in touch today, and teammates are the best. But that's kind of where I went. I went down and took a visit, and our coach took me to a hamburger joint down and that's all he needed to do was to get food in front of me. And if he told me there was good food there, I'm in. But just stuff in that town, it's the old school feel. We drove by a lady that had a car broken down, and he stopped the car during our recruiting trip and asked if we could help or anything like that. He said it's a town, people don't lock the doors. It's just one of those. And I was like, yeah, that sounds like me. That sounds great.
So getting back to golf real quick, who was the first player that you beat in a tournament where you really gave you a boost of confidence? Like, I can play tournament golf.
We had, Louisville was known, we had a pretty good junior program, and we had a lot of really good golfers. And at the time, Matt Savage was kind of our prodigy coming through. And, he had kind of cleaned the clock of everybody. And I finally played in a tournament with him. He didn't play too many city tournaments in the city. He kind of did a lot of national things. He played in one, and I beat him by one that day, and he came up and sat at the table with me and congratulated me and stuff, and that was kind of a big confidence boost. We knew he was going to Florida State, knew he was going to be a really good player, and so that was my first confidence boosting, big win. Yeah,
so let's talk about the next one. So at what point did you think, maybe I can make a living doing this, play professionally, or somehow have golf be a way to make a living? When did that thought really come into mind?
2017, probably. It took about 7 years.
Doing the math, that's like 7 years after you turned professional.
No, I laugh, man. The first tournament I played in as a pro, I think I 3-putted or 4-putted the last hole because I started knowing that this isn't for gift shop credit anymore as an amateur. Now this is cash. And so I kept missing the putt. I kept, I had 3 feet and I had 2 feet and I had a foot. I just hit these bad putts, and that was the first time I really knew what golf was as a professional versus an amateur. But a couple years later, I had my first mini tour win. The next year I had another one, and then I had 2. So it just slowly kept happening. In 2017, I ended up breaking through with a win on the PGA Tour Latin America. Won again in 18, won again in 19. And so it just was, there was always something there showing me like, hey, hang in there. You're doing the right thing. Hang in there. I mean, obviously moments throughout there that I'm sure we'll talk about that, we're pointing me in another direction, but there was always that improvement. I always saw it, but I'd say it's probably around 2012, 2013.
Yeah, and as a journeyman, on the PGA Tour, working your way through, the developmental tours, the minor leagues of golf, which tours did you get to play, and, what are some of the great stories or memories from playing those tours?
Starting out, I probably spent the first 3 winters in Myrtle Beach. And Myrtle Beach is not the place to go in the winter. It's a great spring place or maybe fall place like that, but winter can still get really cold. So that was my first real memories of professional golf. We'd be down there in carts with covers and heaters, frozen green. You're hoping you're playing with a guy that lives there, that's a local, that has his own cart cover, so that you're not out there in 36-degree weather and you've got a propane tank heater in there with you and all that. And so that was kind of my first dip at mini tour golf, at professional golf. But back when I did turn pro, they didn't have PGA Tour Latin America. They didn't have PGA Tour McKenzie or China. They had, at the time, it was the Hooters Tour. And at that time, that was really the third biggest tour in the U.S. And you had guys like Chad Campbell, you had guys Ted Potter, Brandon Brown at the time. These are guys that are making 6 figures on mini tour events, and that's impressive.
That's dominating.
That is dominating. And I'm showing up. I'm just trying to make the cut. Because it's $2,000 to play in it. You make $2,000 if you make the cut. So I'm just trying to make the cut and trying to make my money back. Right. And so at the time I had my dad, my mom and dad basically financing all of it. I had a couple friends in Louisville that I still am extremely grateful for, because they were kind of angel investors at the beginning. Didn't want anything back. They just said, here, best of luck, that kind of thing. We're going to keep in touch and follow along. And so that was kind of my start, my first 3 or 4 years.
So I'm going to talk about difference makers, the people and the moments that can really make the difference for you. You've had the chance to practice and play with a lot of other professional golfers. Which professional golfers have helped you, like taught you how to be a professional golfer, all the different ins and outs of what it takes to be on a tour or tour life?
Yeah, that list could be pretty long. He's not a tour player, but like I said, my first real golf coach, Kevin Greenwell, he was the first one that told me. He's like, he says, you've got something here, and I'm only gonna be able to take you so far with what his job. He's running a public course, getting 300 something rounds a day. He told me, he said, you've got something that a lot of people don't have, and at the time I don't know what that meant. I didn't know anything about that. But that was the first, that got the ball rolling. That really got me thinking about it and kind of got that momentum going. But being here in Jacksonville or in Ponte Vedra, I've been fortunate to be around a lot of really good players. We got Lonto Griffin, who's won tournament. You got Tyler Duncan, Billy Horschel, who's won FedEx Cup. VJ, was he second or third on Career Money. Jim Furyk's around. So you're seeing these guys, you're practicing next to them. You don't have to know them personally, but just practicing next to them, hitting the shots they're hitting, seeing these shots that they're doing, and you get to know guys like Paul Tesori, who's Webb Simpson's caddy, was with VJ when he won a bunch of events, and you talk to him, you see him, he sees you play. You just get this confirmation from a lot of different pros. Like I said, it's an exhaustive list of who it is, but played with Justin Thomas, Daniel Berger, Tony Finau, those guys during the 2014 season on the web.com at the time. Watching their games, watching how they play, and see how far ahead of me they were at the time, and still are at this moment, being on 2 different tours. But just seeing that, just getting that reinforcement of, okay, this is where I need to get to. This is what I can do. If I do the work, this is where I'm going to go.
And you got to give a shout out to Sandy Lau for those little the short shots now that we just saw on the range this week. So
yeah, a couple days ago, Sandy Lau helped me out big time.
So let's go back to your parents. Obviously, I got a chance to walk with your dad at a tournament last year, and I know he's just incredibly proud of you and very supportive of you. So is your mom. What was it like though when you first said, "Mom, Dad, I want to play professional golf"? We actually never really had a moment like that. What was really, really great about them is that they were on board from the beginning. I think they knew. I think they knew before I knew that that's what I wanted to do. My dad, I remember being on the phone, or my dad was on the phone with we were going to build a little turf mat in the backyard with a net. I remember him talking on the phone, and I don't know why. I know he may have just been saying it out of jest, but he said. He's on the phone. Hey, my son's going to be a future PGA Tour player, and we need a mat in the backyard. Can you help us out? What do we need? And I remember at that moment, I was like, I'm going to be a PGA Tour player. Like my dad said, I'm going to be it. Like if he says it, I'm young enough and naive enough to still think, okay, my dad said it, it's going to happen. I'm going to do it, and it's going to happen. And so that really, they've always been on board. They've been
I think they've seen things, having a daughter now and you having kids as well, you see things in them that they may not see at the time. So I think that was really, for me, that, they've always had that thought.
It's huge to have a parent speak that into your life. At that age, it's just so much confidence, which is amazing. Now, you met your wife, Kelsey, online. I'm curious about that too. When you first said, hey, I am a professional golfer, this is what I do. How did that response go? Or maybe better yet, how does it go when you told her dad, I play golf for a living?
Trying to convince her dad to let me marry her with basically negative income. And hey, this is what I do. I lose money for a living playing golf is what I do. So we met on eHarmony, and she had no idea what professional golfers, what it meant. Thankfully, she still tells me, she goes, I didn't really even read that part of your bio. I didn't even really care that much. But it was a pretty big shock to her after being together for a year, switching from being at home 3 to 4 weeks at a time and then gone for a week. Really doing the mini tours. It's not an exhaustive schedule. Coming to the Korn Ferry tour, boom, you hit, and I'm home 1 week out of 4 weeks. And dealing with all that. So that was kind of an interesting conversation. But having to ask her dad, and explain to him, he's a financial guy. He understands. He's a banker. He understands all that. So that was really fun to try to explain to him, like, there's a chance I can do really well here. I know I'm going to do it, and I know I want to marry your daughter, but I've got nothing, and I'm playing a game that is odds are against me. So, but it was good. They've believed in it. They bought in really quickly with it, and they believed it. And
that's quite the sales job you did. That's impressive.
I did. That's still my greatest accomplishment. I think was selling my job to her parents.
Yeah. Well done. Yeah. So I want to transition to a segment called Secret Sauce. What really works for you? Now, every professional golfer has a really strong team around them that keeps them focused, helps them achieve their goals. Tell me about your team that helps support you and keep you on track.
Yeah. So obviously, I have my wife and daughter. Having them at the house and having them on the team is, goes without mentioning how great that is. Words can't really describe that. My parents always been there. My mom and dad were at pretty much every tournament all the way through until I basically moved down here. They were at everything. So they've always supported me. I've had a great trainer back in Kentucky since college. He took me from a guy who couldn't do a push-up or a pull-up to now being an athlete. And I obviously attest that to him, Corey Taylor. I've got a great teacher now, Corey Kaufman, who's probably a name I should mention on the getting to play with when he was a touring pro. He was on the mini tours and he was killing it. And getting to play with him and seeing that was that opened my eyes to what real professional golf was about: taking it serious, eating the right things, practicing the right way, doing all those kind of things. And now he's my coach, and so getting to use that experience and that friendship is great as well. And I know I'm missing some names of some people, but it is truly a team. It's a full support system, and you can't do it on your own.
Yeah. Now, tell me a little bit about how your mindset changed when you and Kelsey brought Chloe into the world, and what did that do for your golf game, for your focus, for your life, your schedule? Obviously, having a baby, probably not getting as much sleep. How did that impact you and your mindset for golf?
It really made me put things. It obviously put things in perspective. I know that I'm sure pretty much every parent says that about their new child when they come in. But it really helped me get efficient with my practice and my timing. It's just Kelsey and I. She would have her work, I'd be doing my work. We'd get home at a certain time and we're together. But now it's Kelsey's full-time mom. I'm gone. If I'm sitting in that cart, looking at social media or something, I'm thinking, get off the phone. You could be at home right now. Or you could be home 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes quicker if you just get back to practicing, get back. And so I fit everything into a window now. I'm very efficient. I'm more focused, and when I come home, it's done. And so that's great. I'm able to work when I work. I'm able to play when I play. And I think that's something that having Chloe's taught me a lot of.
Yeah, priorities, especially time management, that's huge.
Yeah.
How about when you're on the course, you're practicing, what are some of the things that you work on to really stay sharp, some drills, or just what are the kind of things that a professional does to really stay sharp with their game?
Man, as a professional, it it's so many things altogether. The physical game, obviously, getting your reps in on the range and trying to fine tune and dial in everything with your golf swing. But on top of that, it's learning how to take that from the driving range, as most amateurs know, trying to take that to the golf course. It's no different for the pros. It's
me.
We can work on something. We can work on something for a week. We take it to the course. The first 5 or 6 holes, it's still a little sketchy, and sometimes even more. So it's really getting comfortable with what you're doing, finding a routine that works for me, and I found a great routine. I practice a certain amount, physical game. And then I get into some mental work right before a tournament. About the week before, I get really hard into my mental work. Try to forget about golf swing, really get into how can I be the best mentally for this tournament. And it shows the fruits of that work when I do that well and when I don't do that well. So that's really kind of what I do.
Yeah, that's great. Now, I want to tell this story real quick. When we first met in 2018, it was actually at the Kansas City Classic on the Korn Ferry Tour. And it was a junior clinic. I remember taking my daughters to the clinic. They wanted to just kind of be a part of that. And my youngest daughter, Naomi, was seeing the professionals, seeing the bags, seeing all that fun stuff. And she said, Daddy, I want to go talk to one of them. And I remember just kind of looking around and, wanting to make this moment happen for her. And you just happened to be right there with a couple other professionals. So I grabbed her hand. I walked over. I kind of, said, excuse me, sir. My daughter would like to talk to you. Had no idea where this was going to go or what the conversation, or even if you were in the mood to do that. I just thought, I'm just going to try to make this happen. And I remember that, you're 6'4", 6'5", something like that, and you got down on one knee. You looked my daughter right in the eye and just started talking to her. It was a very sweet moment. And I remember, you said, hey, do you want to see a club? And she said, yes. And then you said, which one? And she said, all of them. All of them. You started taking the covers off, and you just so patient with her and so much time. Which just said a lot about your character. And come to find out that was in like one of the tougher years that you had on tour. You're about to lose your status on the Korn Ferry Tour. It was a tough year, getting towards the end. It was kind of crunch time. And yet in that moment, you had just so much grace and so much humility and kindness for this little girl. It just showed so much about your character. How important is that to you to maintain that, even when maybe things aren't going the way that you want them to go out on tour?
Golf is not a game of always succeeding and playing well. So that was something that, like you said, that year wasn't going very well. But when there's a chance to do something at clinics or pro-ams, things like that, you get to really take your eyes off of where you're at and off of your so-called problems of playing bad golf and your job's not going well. And so when you see a little kid like Naomi get excited about what's in your bag, what does that look like? It takes me away from that horrible week the week before when I missed the cut, or I don't know how I'm hitting the ball, or I don't know whatever. It just takes you out of that and puts you in the frame of, this is what's happening right now. This is what's going on. This little girl or a little boy or whoever it may be is interested in what you're doing. And so how can you make that experience good for them? And I'm sure I've whiffed on a few of those kind of experiences, but I know with Naomi, she was in. She was locked in. She grabbed my attention and made sure I was in. And so she said, she was very specific on which club you wanted, what you were supposed to do. And I think we may have even missed out on time for hitting and all that kind of stuff. But it was great to just be the one-on-one and do things like that. Like I said, it brings you back into perspective of what you're really doing. And a job's a job. Some days are good, some days are bad. Some weeks are good, some seasons are bad. But the people you're around are what matter the most.
Well, I know as a dad, that was a big moment, and it had a huge impact on Naomi. In fact, oftentimes she asks, "How's Jared doing this week?" So she's still following. We're still following every week that you're out there. So that was a big moment. That's for sure. All right. So as a journeyman working towards getting to the PGA Tour, I'm sure there were some pretty low moments. Was there ever a moment where you were kind of tempted to just kind of give up on this and quit? And if so, what kept you going in those moments where it's like, is this worth it? Should I keep doing this?
Yeah, there was two distinct ones. One before I married Kelsey, and I remember my dad and I having a talk. He's like, "Look, you're not having fun. I can see you're not having fun. You're miserable, which makes no sense because you're out playing golf all day, and that's what you're doing for a living." But he said, as long as I'm going to help you and fund this, he's like, you've got to figure out if you want it. That was the first time he's put the ball in my court. And I've had obviously parents doing parent things and saying, look, straighten up, stop doing this, stop doing that, all that kind of stuff. This time it was like, look, I'm done. It's in your court. You do what you want to do. And so I had to figure out if that's what I wanted to do. Decided to have fun. Ended up kind of a cliche thing, but next week went out and won my first mini tour event, or second mini tour event ever. So I was like, wow,
right.
Okay, should have done this more often. Should have just had some more fun. But again, fast forward a few more years, I get back into a rut, get back into a bad attitude. I get married, have some success with golf, get out on the web.com at the time, Korn Ferry now, and I have a terrible year. I played 17 events, made 2 cuts, had horrible attitude. I remember Kelsey, it started, my caddy kind of pulled me and he's like, listen, like we got to figure this out. And he caddied for Steve Flesh, he caddied for Tim Herron, he's tour kind of caddy, and he's like, look, you're not going to make it if you keep doing this. And then not much longer, Kelsey and I had the same kind of talk. She's like, I don't like who you are when you're out playing. You're just not much fun to be around and that kind of thing. So I had to do a little soul searching, a little figuring out. If this is what I want to keep doing, I've got to straighten up. I've got to see if this is something I still want to do. And I decided let's do it. And of course, there's other times. I'd text Kelsey and say like, I'm done. I hate golf. Golf's the worst. I did that 2 weeks before I won in Jamaica in 2017. On PGA Latin America, I'd missed a cut in Quito by like 1 or 2, and I texted her. I said, "If nothing changes this year, I'm done." And that, and then 2 weeks later, I win. So it's like and there's stories about that throughout all of professional golf and a lot of professional sports. You get to that point where you're like, I just give up. I'm done caring so much about what's going on. I'm just going to go play and have fun, and then something happens. It typically does. You're relaxed and everything.
I think those are common stories in amateur golf too. I'm pretty sure most weekend golfers will text on the way home, I'm done, try to sell their clubs on the way home, and then the next weekend they're right back out there just doing it again. It's pretty
Here's a
common.
tip to amateur golfers. Don't text your wife that you're done, because she'll save it as an amateur golfer, and she'll not let you back out.
You're not making money as an amateur. You're paying, so that you might lose out on that.
Exactly.
That's for sure. That's good advice. I'm going to make sure I never do that. That's for sure. Speaking of which, I noticed that lately you really don't take yourself too seriously. Maybe that's a huge part of your success. I remember after that first interaction with you, I decided to do some internet stalking, try to figure out who Jared Wolfe is, and I came across this video that was produced by the PGA Tour, and it was kind of a replay of that Caddyshack scene where the pool boy finds a little something in the pool, takes a bite and whatnot. And in this video, you're the pool boy.
Yep.
And you find the Snickers bar in that episode, at least the Snickers bar. I went, it's not too bad.
I was Spalding.
That's right.
Yep.
I remember
was
that.
Spalding.
Yeah. So tell me about that on those mini tours, because you don't see the PGA Tour doing that too much, but on those mini tours you see some of those fun things. What was it like with the guys on the tour, just kind of getting to know them and do these kind of activities?
It was great, man. It was, like you said, it was in the middle of not having a great season, and I was like, I need a good laugh. Let's have some fun, and they asked for some volunteers. And on the Korn Ferry, they do a good job of, we're all basically newcomers. There's some that fall back. We're all newcomers. So the media's job on that is, let's get these guys out in the public. Let's let people know who they are, because if and when they do make it to the PGA Tour, we want everybody to know who they are. So they'll come up to us on the range every once in a while, ask us to do favors like this. And so they're like, hey, there's a pool. We're going to recreate the pool scene. So we had a bunch of guys and some people doing that, and I was like, they're like, hey, we need a Spalding. I was like, count me in.
I'll do it.
So we took the little Baby Ruth bars or Snicker bars, put it in there, and oh man, just had a blast doing it. But it's like I said, it's just little things like that take you away from your so-called problems and situations on the course, and just have some fun. And I think the PGA Tour is getting to do that a little bit more, but that camaraderie on the Latin America and Canada and Korn Ferry, it's pretty tight, because we're all trying to get to the same goal. We're all trying to see, we're all trying to get to that PGA Tour. We're all trying to make that dream happen. So the encouragement and support that's on those tours is pretty good.
So the real lesson in all of this is have fun, and then your golf game will definitely improve.
Have fun, and more than likely your game will improve, but if not, everybody around you is going to be a lot happier. That's what I learned.
Now, your home course is TPC Sawgrass, which you chose, shortly after becoming professional, and I would say kudos to you for making that choice.
Good decision.
Good facility here.
Yes.
Tell me what being able to practice at this particular facility, does for your game and for being a professional.
We joke that if you can't get better here, then you're not going to make it. It can't happen. You've got every resource here you want. They've got every kind of golf ball you want. They've got tour level practice areas in the back. Even when I've lost status and moved down to the smaller tours, we are allowed to use the Front Range and the Dyes Valley course, which is still amazing because you get this all access, pro level golf courses. You get obviously playing TPC or playing the stadium course. You get to play 16, 17, 18. You get all the other holes. You get tour up and downs. When you miss the greens, you get all these things that you see on TV. If you haven't been there yet, you haven't been on those courses. Well, now you get to test it and you get to see what it's like. And so when you get to work on those things on the range, you get to go straight to a tournament golf course that everybody on tour says is a really difficult golf course, and you get to test it out, see what it's like. When it goes well, obviously it gives you a lot of confidence. So it's been great. That and being around a lot of the other tour players.
Yeah, not only that, but we got to walk around the clubhouse and see all the memorabilia. We're in the President's Cup room right now recording, and you see these pictures of these iconic moments. You get to see the past winners, their clubs, and all of that. I'm sure that gives you so much inspiration to see, Rory McIlroy up on the wall holding the trophy right here at the Players Championship that's hosted every year. That's just got to be pretty inspiring. It
is to see all the history and things that have gone on here at TPC. It's incredible, and the things that they do here for the community and for everything else. It's pretty cool to be a part of this golf course.
And of course, this course has the famous 3-hole finish. You got the par 5 16th, the dogleg left, with the approach to green guarded by water. You've got the iconic island green, 17th, the par 3, and then you have the long 18th, the par 4 with water running up and down the entire left-hand side. So it's an incredible finishing stretch of golf, which we actually got to play, which was very exciting. And a couple of highlights from that. So on 16 today, you set a personal record.
Yeah, hit my furthest drive I've ever hit. You asked me on the tee, what's the shortest club I've ever had in? I said, I think a 6-iron, and I hit an 8-iron in today.
I was planting the seed right there that you needed to bust one right there, or as you say, need to cook it.
That's right. Get that in there. I hit it. There was a lot of shots today that I was able to tell you. You asked me where you hitting it, and I got to tell you, and I pulled them off today. I kind of wish today was a tournament day.
It was fun to watch, that's for sure. So it was a lot of fun. I'm just happy that I had a birdie putt on that hole, so that was pretty exciting.
You did. I did see a rare birdie on 18 today by Mr. Griggs.
You did see a rare birdie on 18. That was probably the moment of the day. And then, of course, hitting 17 green was just a thrill. Just getting to can you imagine what that would be like playing in front of fans, which in the next 2 years could very well happen.
I think about it every time I play the hole. Every time I play 16, I think about it. It never gets old playing the 16th, 17th, and 18th hole. 17th, when you get there, especially being here for the tournament and seeing it as a fan, just picturing myself in there hitting the ball. I'm like, every time I go, that's what I think about. So for hopefully, like you said, within the next couple of years, I'll be in that situation and it won't feel so weird. It'll be somewhat comfortable.
Yeah, that's going to be incredible. I just can't imagine all the fans and just And,
they would have cheered for our shots today.
They did, and you did make an eagle on 16. So that was
make an eagle on 16.
Impressive. So it's nice to see that up close and watch that. Very inspiring, that's for sure. So we're going to transition to a segment called the Quick 10.
Okay.
10 questions you have not heard, and we just want the first thing that pops in your head.
Here we go.
Just go ahead and answer that. All right. So first question is, what's your favorite sporting event to attend, not golf?
College basketball.
Any particular team? Louisville. All right, of course. Very good.
College football second, Louisville.
Okay, very good. How many holes in one do you have?
We're going to go with, this is so dumb for a professional golfer not to know this, but it's either 6 or 7. I believe it's 7.
Yeah, I guess after 2 or 3, it's like, okay, I've done this before maybe. I don't know. I don't know how you
my first one was on the same hole my dad had his first
That's
one
incredible.
on. Not the same day. And I think we both bladed it from what I think I remember. I know I bladed it. I think he said he bladed it and it just rolled down the fairway and went in.
Sometimes that happens.
So not all of them are pretty. But I don't know. Some of them I think have happened in practice rounds, and some of my buddies are like, oh, those don't count, So I'm like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to count. So, but one of them I've had out here on a par 4 at the Valley course. That was
nice. Hole in one on par 4. That's a whole different story.
That's pretty cool.
That's for sure. I'd like for somebody to do the statistical probability of you having your first hole in one on the exact same hole that your dad did. I imagine that doesn't happen too often.
It was pretty remarkable. I was playing match play in a junior tournament, and the kid was like, "Do I even need to hit? I can't win the hole." So
yeah, this hole's over. Yeah. So 6 or 7 holes in one. How about double eagles?
That's a 5 or 6 as well.
Yeah, which is harder.
Yeah. Which I think it
statistically,
is.
Because you have to actually hit 2 good shots
right.
for that to happen, and they're longer shots.
Well, the par 4 was a 2-in-1,
and that was
deal.
a
2-in-1 deal.
Yeah,
so that's where I kind of mess up. Sometimes I think it's 6 or 7 or 5. Yeah,
you got a lot of confusion there. Okay, next question. What's your Starbucks drink?
Oh shoot, just an iced coffee, and I'll mix it with protein and MCT oil.
That sounds too healthy. That's not like the normal drink. There's not a lot of fruit in that.
They do a chocolate brownie drink that. Yeah, I've had that a few times. That's pretty good. Yeah.
What do you collect? Are you a collector? What do you collect?
I used to collect baseball cards, basketball cards, football cards.
Still do? Still have them, or?
I still have them. Yeah. I used to collect some knives, and then now I've just some friends that I know that are in professional sports. I try to get some of their stuff and keep it, and I'll send them some things as well. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What is one course that you cannot wait to play on the PGA Tour?
Ooh, that is a great question. Man, I think for the tournament, for being what it is, Memorial would be a lot of fun. I think that just for what it is, Bay Hill the same way. And neither one of those are for the golf course. It's just for the tournament being for Jack and Arnie. I think that but obviously Augusta. Augusta is hands down. Hands down. Yeah. No doubt about the other 2 were just appetizers. Augusta's the main dish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's awesome.
And the dessert. Par 3 courses is the dessert. There you go.
Exactly. What's your favorite form of vacation?
All inclusive, where I don't have to worry about anything.
On land or a cruise?
On land. We've done a couple cruises. They're as great as they are. They're great, but on land, yeah, that for sure. All inclusive. You show up, you pay your bill at the end or at the beginning. You don't pay anything anymore, and you just enjoy all of it. That's mine.
Yeah, you don't have to think.
Don't have to think.
Those are the best forms.
I love not thinking.
I'm a cruiser.
It's one of my favorites.
You don't have to even plan travel or you'd be tempted to go off, and do on your own thing. Like you're literally on the boat. You just so that's my favorite, but pretty similar. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, Universal or Disney?
Disney.
Which park? Which one? Which Disney?
Any of them.
Any of them?
Any of them. Epcot, if you're looking for a cultural experience, you can get your fix getting food from around the world, but. Magic Kingdom. Doesn't matter how old you are, you're still an 8-year-old kid when you go in there. For sure. I'm excited to take Chloe whenever it's
It's going to be fun to take Chloe, but I can tell you this, it's actually more enjoyable after the fact that you have kids just to go as parents. No kids. That's actually more enjoyable because you're not dragging kids around, even though it's fun to see their faces light up and things like that. But I've got a lot of friends who actually go to Disney, no kids, and they have a much better time. So it's
my wife and brother-in-law are that way.
Yeah.
I think they enjoy both, but they do like to go by themselves.
Okay, I think I know the answer to this one, but you can only play in one of these tournaments. Which one would you want to play? The Masters tournament or a Ryder Cup on U.S. soil?
Ooh. Wow, you would go there. I've got to say the Masters.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, if you play the Masters, you're gonna have a decent shot of getting in on the Ryder Cup.
That's true. You kind of get 2 for 1 if you go Masters, so that's.
But also, if you're on the Ryder Cup team, you're probably in the Masters. So it goes hand in hand. I mean, obviously, being on the team thing and on the U.S. soil, I don't know. I'd like to win it on foreign soil.
You'd like to be the underdog
put it right on them. That would be so satisfying to be on that bus on the way back. And then have the parade or party when we get back, that kind of thing.
That would.
Yeah,
that'd be awesome.
Cool.
All right, your favorite club to hit and maybe your favorite shot with that club?
Driver, hit it a long way.
Driver and cook it.
Driver and smash it. Big fan of the driver. But I've started to really enjoy hitting the putter in the middle of the face and watching it go in the hole. I've found that does pretty good for tournaments. But the driver is fun.
I think that's where you and amateurs really get along. Is everybody likes to hit the big dog.
Oh yeah. Amateurs like to watch us hit the big dog too.
Yeah,
that's a good thing.
We enjoyed it today. That's for sure. Okay, last question. This one's really important.
Okay.
Where do I currently stand on the caddy depth chart?
What's the next question? You are currently, I would say, 3rd or 4th.
Oh, that's big because I think
you were 6th.
I was, yeah.
You showed me today after you got me to a new record on 16. We played the back 9 pretty good.
You didn't know, but I definitely was.
Your job is safe, but We have a close third.
I also learned how to rake bunkers like Tillis, so
true.
I'm definitely moving up in that regard.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll be the caddy coach, a coach of a caddy, kind of like assistant to the general.
We got to work on that credential. We got to do that.
Yeah, I'm definitely working on that. So now we're going to talk about the next chapter, where your career is headed, where your life is headed. And now that you're on the verge of being on the PGA Tour, which will happen at the end of 2021, moving into 2022, have you already started to think ahead to what are some of the goals that you're going to have? What do you want to accomplish when you get out there for your first year on the tour?
First intermediate goals, if I can get one more win this season, then we're streamlined.
Win.
Straight. Yes.
When you get one more win this season.
When I get one more win.
There you go.
This season, it's the next week on the PGA Tour. So I'm hoping that happens sooner than later. We don't have to wait till the end of the season. But at this point, it does look like at the end of the Korn Ferry Tour season, we'll get the PGA Tour card. And I think we have a week off, and then we're off and running on the PGA Tour on the Fall Series. And my main goal, in those first 6 events, play some good golf. Get out there, try to get a win, obviously. But I know realistically what's good, where I'm going to be at, what's going to happen, and I know it's a new stage. And my goal is to get as comfortable as I can, as quickly as I can, and obviously try to get the win.
Yeah, and I think the biggest challenge for new players on the tour is obviously learning those golf courses, getting comfortable, and racking up those FedEx Cup points so you can get a good margin heading into the regular season, the next calendar year for sure. Now, not to get too far ahead of ourselves here, but your last name is Wolfe. There's another decent golfer on the PGA Tour whose last name starts with W-O. How often have you maybe thought about, what that's going to be like to play with Tiger Woods, to maybe have your locker next to him, as you mentioned before, just be around all those guys?
Well, it was funny. It was after the first win in the Bahamas that night. I couldn't sleep very well, obviously, but one of the thoughts that kept me up and it hit me out of nowhere, was like, my last name's Wolfe, last name Woods. Oh my gosh, my locker's going to be next to Tiger Woods. And I don't even know if that's true. He might have his own clubhouse. I don't know, but as he rightly deserves. But I don't know what I'm going to say to him. I don't know.
Mr. Woods, Mr. Tiger,
Mr. Tiger
Mr.
Woods,
Eldrick,
Mr. Whatever you want to be called.
That's right.
My name's Jared. How's it going? Right? I just listened to something. Harry Higgs met him, and I heard his funny first time with him. So I don't know what I'm going to say to him. I don't know, but I've thought about some of those fun things. I've thought about the courtesy cars. I've thought about some of that stuff. I've tried to get as comfortable as I can now, so that when it happens, I'm not shell shocked, or I'm not, that I feel like I belong. I'm supposed to be there, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's exciting. And I'm sure it helps to see former Korn Ferry Tour players like Scotty Scheffler and some of the others that have actually gone on to have really good success. Scotty Scheffler, I believe, went to the Tour Championship coming on his first year. So seeing those guys you played with before have success has got to be, good to see.
It's huge. Yeah, like I said, that list is getting longer. The guys coming out of this tour are ready to go. Like I said, mentioned Harry Higgs. I played in 2018 with him in Latin America, and then watching him the next season in 2019, win, I believe, in Springfield, Missouri, and taking his career out there, and he had a heck of a year. Scotty Scheffler had a heck of a year, really good year. Watching those guys come out of the tour and ready to rock and roll, I mean, it shows the kind of talent that's on our tour, and how good how quick they can make that transition.
Well, to wrap up our podcast, first of all, we're so excited at Lean Solutions Group to be a sponsor for you. For you to be a brand ambassador for the next 2 years, we're excited about that and what that's going to bring. But for everyone else out there who's listening, the fans out there, how can they get to know you? How can they follow you on social media and kind of get to know who Jared Wolfe is?
Yeah, to speak on the first part, really excited to be part of your all's team as well, to be an ambassador for it. Really looking forward to being able to represent your all's brand, and very humbled to be on with you all. But I'll be on Instagram, Jared Wolfe, at Jared Wolfe Pro, and then Twitter at Jared Wolfe Pro. I'm working on a website. Might be JaredWolfePro.com. We're up in the air still. We got to see. Nobody steal that domain, please. But we'll see what we can do with that, so that way people can follow along.
Well, Jared, congratulations on an incredible season on the Korn Ferry Tour so far. Best of luck on the PGA Tour season, and thank you so much for hosting us today here at TPC Sawgrass, and for your time today in the interview. It was great having you.
Thanks, Trey. Thanks for having me on. Really looking forward to this season and being with you guys.
Well, thank you for watching Bathrooms and Bunkers, powered by Lean Solutions Group. We'll see you next time, and remember, excellence lies within you, so let it out.